The Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has called for a world without nuclear weapons at a ceremony to mark the 70th anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima. Mr. Abe spoke in the shadow of the A-bomb dome, a crumbling building meters from the Hypo Center that has been preserved as a reminder of the attack.
70 years on, I re-emphasize the necessity of world peace. And we have to continue our effort to achieve the world without nuclear weapons.
So are we guilty of failing to learn the lessons of history, or is the world a safer place with nuclear weapons? Who's got them? How many are there? What would happen if we agreed to give ours up? Timothy Stafford is research analyst specialising in nuclear policy at the defence think tank, the Royal United Services Institute. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. And Hans Blix, former head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, led the research on weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Hans Blix, good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Blix, is there a moral case that can be made for having a nuclear deterrent?
No, I don't think so. The moral case is very strongly in favor of the reduction and elimination of the weapons. But the reality is that the five P5 states plus 4 additional states are relying upon the nuclear weapons. How much? That is a good question. And there's a question whether they will be bypassed by other means of warfare, the cyber warfare, the energy use, or the space warfare. There's a big movement against the nuclear weapons for the abolition, and it has two lines. One is for disarmament, and it's been not very successful, although the number of weapons has gone down from 50,000 to 20,000 in the world, but it's mainly for economic reasons, and I do not see that even the UK is walking out of the nuclear weapons, though a great many people, including myself, would doubt the meaningfulness for the UK to retain the weapons. But I don't see them change, and I don't see India or Pakistan change. However, the further spread of the weapons to new countries have been much more successful, and that was the purpose of the Non-Proliferation Treaty in 1970. The number has only increased by 4 by India, Pakistan, North Korea, and Israel. And Libya and Iraq were stopped, and we have recently seen a great success in the negotiation with Iran, where we now have, I think, very strong guarantees that Iran would not walk towards a nuclear weapon. So that side of it has been relatively successful.
Timothy Stafford, just from a UK point of view, surely the threats we now face are of an entirely different order. We heard mention there of cyber warfare and space and terrorism as well. That's our main threat. So a nuclear deterrent is absolutely no use at all against those dangers.
Well, to a certain extent, no. But I think the point to be kept in mind is that that is not what the nuclear deterrent exists to prevent. The nuclear deterrent has a very specific purpose, which is to deter attacks against the UK or its allies by other nuclear-armed states. And Mr. Blix mentioned the cost and a lot of the economic reasons. I think it's always worth keeping in mind just how much the UK's Trident system costs. We often see the figure of £90 billion, but that's spread over 30 years. So that equates to about just 0.4% of government spending each year. So there's not a huge cost to maintaining the UK's nuclear weapons, and it also serves a particular purpose. It's also worth keeping in mind that the UK extends its nuclear guarantees to NATO members, and therefore deters other states from going down the nuclear path. So by maintaining its own nuclear weapons, the UK perversely serves the cause of non-proliferation.
I'm just wondering, though, the whole situation with nuclear weapons is bound up, as far as we're concerned, with NATO. Would it be, Hans Blix, would it be possible for Britain to give up its nuclear deterrent and still remain within NATO and actually just rely on the NATO umbrella of protection? Is there not a double standard there?
Well, the Belgians and the others in NATO are relying upon the NATO deterrence and guarantee.
But they never had nuclear weapons in the first place.
But I don't see that the UK really can stand alone. They will always need the US delivery capacity and the weapons capacity. And I do not hear from Washington, the military side, that they are particularly keen that UK should retain its weapons. I don't want to barge into the internal UK debate, but I myself am doubtful about the utility. I'm more interested in how do we approach it on the global level. And there you have this disarmament approach, which is one, and the latest result was the START agreement between the US and Russia, and that was valuable, but they won't get any inch further without any change in the Western attitude on the missile defense in Romania and other places that the Russians perceive, rightly or wrongly, as a threat against them. We won't make progress there. The legal approach is the most interesting at the moment, and it has a long history. The International Court of Justice was asked about the legality of the nuclear weapons, and they found that in most cases it would be illegal. Now, what is the effect of such an opinion? I cannot say, but there is a recent movement in favor of a convention that would outlaw the use of nuclear weapons. And the nuclear weapon states are not very keen on that. They say this is not viable, we are not going to join it. On the other hand, such a convention might further delegitimize it.
Yeah, listen, thank you. Thank you very much, Hans Blix, former Chief Weapons Inspector for the International Atomic Energy Agency, and Timothy, thank you, Timothy Stafford, Research Analyst specialising in nuclear policy.